Hey, it's Lee Henkin here from Hyper Prospecting. So, short video today. I'm going to be talking about why most B2B outbound campaigns I see fail before they even send their first outreach message. Okay, and generally that comes down to a lot of fundamental issues that I'm going to be running through over the next couple of minutes. Give you a bit of a context before I dive into it. So I've been doing outbound since 2018 across LinkedIn, email, probably sent since 2020, probably 2 million cold emails, worked on at least 1,000 outbound campaigns in that time. And so basically everything I'm going to be telling you is not just based on, reading some book. It's actually things I've seen practically in the real world with outbound campaigns. Okay, so as I mentioned at the start of the video, most of the issues I see with outbound campaigns before they even get launched is a lot of foundational issues, okay, or fundamentals, all right, rather than tactical things, which everyone thinks is kind of their issue. It's like, I don't know, the way they're using their subject lines or something like that. Generally, most of the issues always are fundamental issues rather than tactical or strategic issues. So there's really a few core kind of foundational issues I see that really cause a lot of outbound campaigns to fail before they even get firing properly. The first is a targeting one. So a lot of people, they get too broad. Like, I've audited a lot of campaigns, spoke with a lot of, marketing heads, sales heads, CEOs, founders who do their own outbound internally over the years. And the issue is like they just get way too broad with their targeting. Like, just recently I remember speaking with one guy who was running outbound campaigns, and his total market size was like 17,000 manufacturing companies in Europe, and he was just like mass blasting them all. The reality is it's just way too broad. You actually just got to get more specific. So you really need to be, like in that example that I'm talking about, you really need to be dividing like the manufacturing companies up into tiers based around like their size, the personas. Like, you're going to be contacting the CEO founder as one persona. The second persona might be someone who's like the CTO or the chief information officer. Like, it's obviously going to depend, but you really got to get specific and granular, like with your targeting, rather than too broad. And that's just a huge mistake. Like, I see time and time again. Yeah, the people just aren't specific enough. They just want to blast out like 15,000 companies. When the reality is you just got to get way more defined with your targeting to get the results you want. And that is because when you're more defined, you can make your messaging more specific to each specific persona and the types of companies based on where they're at and kind of information you can gather from them. And if you're doing broad outreach, that's just not possible. So yeah, that's a huge mistake I see. Definitely one of the biggest ones. Another big one is kind of a copywriting one. Really comes down to messaging, which is a lot of people tend to, there's a lot of messaging mistakes I see where, from being too long, not compelling enough. Like, there's a lot of things that go into this, but I'd say kind of a core issue when it comes to messaging that I've seen is a lot of the times people make their messaging too product focused rather than pain or problem focused. Like with cold outreach, because of the way you're reaching out, because these are cold audiences where you've got no trust, credibility, the only way to get it to really work is to reach out with messaging that's all about addressing like an urgent to fix problem or pain. If you don't frame your offer and your messaging around that, it's going to be very difficult. A lot of people make the messaging way too product heavy and feature based, and it's just like, yeah, it's just not going to work. So you really need to focus more heavily on the pain or problem focused approach when you're dealing with a cold audience like these kind of campaigns are. And just one final thing on this, I would say, don't use all AI written copy. Everyone can tell when they've just gotten an AI written message. Like, you want to use AI to refine messaging and get it tighter, but you don't want to be using it to write literally everything because it's so obvious. everyone can see it. It actually ends up having the opposite effect. Probably the third major reason, major issue, is more like a technical one regarding infrastructure setup. So deliverability, particularly with outbound email, is extremely difficult nowadays. It's much more complex than it used to be. So yeah, you really got to make sure you got the right setup there. So you don't want to be sending from your primary domain or like 1 or 2 inboxes, which I still, even today see some people doing. You need to have separate domains, multiple inboxes, no more than 3 inboxes per domain, but you got to have multiple domains and inboxes to do this properly. You got to have all the right technical setup, DKIM authenticated, DMARC records set up and authenticated, all that stuff. You got to have custom tracking domains set up, proper warm up. I could spend an hour talking about deliverability setup, which I'm not going to do. But yeah, this is a really big problem as well. You got to make sure you got the right infrastructure set up to do this effectively. Personally, in my business, we generally have a split between like Google Outlook and private SMTP inboxes, and yeah, it's probably more heavily geared towards Google most of the time. I find Google's generally better than Outlook personally, but yeah, so it's generally a split, diversified across those 3 types of servers. Basically, I find that's the best for just like ongoing long-term deliverability and health of infrastructure. The last kind of issue I see is kind of blending into the tactical kind of areas, but I still think it's important to mention, is a lack of proper conversion layer set up. So a lot of people, they'll get all their campaigns set up, get it ready to go, launched, and they might start getting some opportunities in the inbox, and then they don't have a proper process in place to handle those interested responses. They'll send like 1 follow-up, and then that's basically it, and just lost the deal. So really, you need to have a proper conversion layer set up where you're defining the different types of lead responses you get and how you're going to address those and follow up with them, which will require multiple follow-ups. And also making sure you're using multi-channel, LinkedIn warm calling. So yeah, again, this is similar to the infrastructure. I could talk about this for an hour. But in short, the big issue here is there's just not a properly defined conversion layer. You've got to have the 2 types of categories of interested responses set up, a process to follow for actually maximizing and nurturing those opportunities in the pipeline. Otherwise, all your efforts go to waste once you get those positive responses. So that's pretty much it. They're really kind of 4 like foundational issues I see with outbound campaigns and why they're really set up to fail before they even go live. So yeah, like I said, this is based on my experience. I've been doing outbound for, at the time of making this video, 7 years now. So it's not based on stuff I read in a book. This is stuff I've seen personally. So really make sure you get the foundational stuff set up first. That's more important than the technical stuff, always. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, got some value out of it. Focus on these 4 things. Your pipeline will thank you for it. And if you want to get more expert one-on-one help with me in various capacities, do reach out, book a call, get in touch, and we can go from there. Otherwise, thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.